Okie dokie, Breathless film commentary. Let's start. Now, in this scene, Michelle's just stolen a car and he's on his way to Paris to get the money owed to him and to reconnect with Patricia. During the scene, I'll discuss the Nietzschean philosophy that envelops both the film form of Breathless and of Michelle's character. But I will also suggest that Michelle may not be the Nietzschean ideal it is easy to identify him as. Now, right off the bat, this film would seem strange to somebody who has not seen it before. This is because it denies all conventions of traditional filmmaking. There are sporadic jump cuts that change the location of the scene each time they occur. In addition, Michelle will look directly into the camera lens and talk to the audience, breaking the fourth wall. This completely dismantles the audience's suspension of disbelief as Michelle, the main character, just acknowledged their presence, making it apparent that the film is self-aware. Also, when Michelle contemplates picking up the two ladies hitchhiking, the viewer can observe a break in continuity. The first time he looks at them, they are sitting in front of a building. In the next cut, they are simply in front of a row of trees on the side of the road. All of these elements are a big no-no and are a clear refusal to follow the classic rule set on how to make a film, established mainly by Hollywood cinema. What significance is this to the film itself, though? Well, Breathless is perhaps the best example of a film whose thematic guiding philosophy matches the style and form of the film as well. The Nietzschean themes expressed through the film and through the character of Michelle are also expressed through Godard's form of filmmaking. So, Michelle rejects the objective moral code of the society he resides in, and Godard rejects the objective rules of filmmaking writ large. An example of Michelle being different than a normal citizen, normal person who follows societal norms, is how he acts to finding a gun in this car. He's completely unfazed. He starts waving it around and eventually shoots the sun, or play shoots at it. It seems Godard may have added the sound effect in post-production, which again breaks the convention of sound design. Now, Michelle's action, read in terms of Nietzsche, can be interpreted as Michelle rejecting or even killing God. Nietzsche uses the sun to symbolize God in his writing, especially during his excerpt of The Madmen. Michelle's other Nietzschean elements are that he has stolen the car he is currently driving in. He drives at an illegally fast speed, and he's also highly impulsive. Any thought that pops into Michelle's head, he explicates to the audience with no thought or reason behind it. He says he's fond of France, while the rest of the movie says he's sick of France simply because he likes the countryside at that moment. He also comically bashes a woman driver ahead of him, just to find out that it's the roadwork causing the delay and not her. Once a thought pops into Michelle's head, he says it without waiting to think. And, of course, at the end of the scene here, he kills a police officer, which is a complete betrayal of conventional morality. So, it is clear that Michelle has all the characteristics of a Nietzschean Übermensch, right? He acts according to his will, doing what he wants when he wants. He acts out of impulsivity, avoiding the problem of Socrates, and above all, he lives life dangerously. I'm not entirely convinced, however, that you can call him fully Nietzschean. And so I'll go back to a short line in the scene. Bear with me here because it may seem like a stretch, but because it's so short and minimalistic, but I think it will help me expand on Michelle's character. This line about Bugatti tells you that Michelle is following someone else's rule, okay? This is the first of two problems I have with defining Michelle as Nietzschean. First, his actions do not come entirely from his subjective perspective. He follows Bugatti's rules of cars, and is clearly putting on some sort of act or get-up to impersonate Hollywood role models of big A-list stars or even gangsters in Hollywood films. Like Humphrey Bogart, Michelle's lip rub is a clear reference to Bogart, who has the same quirk and is well known for it. Michelle is clear about this as he rubs his lip while he's looking at the picture of Humphrey Bogart later in the film. Michelle is trying to be this image of a gangster or a cool leading man that has been sold that he has been sold from Hollywood cinema. While I will not go as far to say it is all an act, although Michelle's line of "I'm tired, I want to sleep" at the end of the film could provide good fodder for that theory, I do think Michelle believes in and enjoys this way of living, but again, he does not find his guiding philosophy subjectively. My next issue is with Michelle's guiding philosophy itself. For the entirety of the film, you can argue that for the entirety of the film, you can argue that it changes at the end, perhaps. His actions are purely self-serving and egoistic. While Nietzsche does not speak ill of egoism, rather he thinks the trait is treated unfairly, Michelle's egoism is dogmatic. Michelle avoids being trapped in the traditional objective morality of society, but only to replace one dogma with another, that of selfishness and egoism, which both rule and determine nearly all of his actions and decisions in the film. So is Michelle simply not following another set of rules or code or some overriding philosophy that dictates him and traps him? Ultimately, I think this scene displays the Nietzschean philosophy Breathless as a whole represents. It implores the philosophy into the film's form and sets up the style for the rest of the movie. It also allows a starting off point to further analyze Michelle's rather complex character. And I believe it can also even help with the characterization of Patricia, since if you look at Michelle through my interpretation, maybe she doesn't seem so weak anymore. Maybe she could even be classified as more Nietzschean than Michelle himself. But that is another commentary for another scene.